evening and welcome to the November 13th meeting of the Garden Grove City Council. Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Tuhal-Win.
Here.
Councilmember Bowie.
Here.
Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Kim Wynn.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. Before we proceed, I'd like to hold a brief moment of silence to honor the victims and the first responders to the Camp Fire in Butte County and the Woolsey Fire and Hill Fire in Ventura County. Currently, there are 9,000 firefighters battling the Camp Fire with 228 people missing and 42 known fatalities. There have been 2 confirmed fatalities in the Woolsey Fire. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask Maria Stipe to do the invocation and then Councilmember John O'Neill, the birthday boy, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask everyone to please prepare yourselves according to your faith. Dear Heavenly Father, we humbly ask that you bless everyone assembled here this evening and the work that we seek to do. Help us to work in harmony as we strive to make the best decisions for our community. Purify our intentions, strengthen our purpose, and Lord, grant that in serving our community, we may also serve you. Amen.
You all join me by facing the flag, removing your caps, placing your hand over your heart. With me, let's salute our great flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we do have a couple of presentations, starting with a community spotlight in recognition of the Garden Grove Police Department's accident reduction team for going beyond the call of duty to reduce fatal accidents in the city. Chief Elgin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight is my privilege to spotlight your police officers for going above and beyond the call of duty in order to reduce fatal traffic accidents in Garden Grove and for their efforts to educate the community on the dangers of not following traffic laws. Would the Garden Grove Police Department Accident Reduction Team please step up to the plate here? I'll recognize him, but he's not going to want to come up. Lieutenant Amir Farr, he's here somewhere. Sergeant Lino Santana, officers Rocky Rubicalva, Paul Ashby, Ryan Vastillos, Thomas Capps, Michael Elhamy, Austin Laverty, Danny Mahalik, and Ron Reyes. Please come forward. Let me look at you. Fantastic. One of the hardest working units that we have in the police department here, and I'll expound on that a little bit. As a result of the 17 fatal traffic accidents we had in 2016, and in response to the nationwide increase of fatal accidents involving distracted drivers, including bicyclists and pedestrians not following traffic laws, the Garden Grove Police Department formed an Accident Reduction Team, or ART. This team was organized as part of a city campaign to reduce traffic collisions and educate the public with regard to traffic safety laws. As you can see, the Accident Reduction Team is comprised of our motor officers, or the Garden Grove Traffic Unit. All members of the traffic unit are recognized drug recognition experts, which means if you're under the influence, they're going to be able to figure that out. They have extensive training in detecting drivers impaired by alcohol and those under the influence of 7 different drugs. In addition to their patrol efforts, the Accident Reduction Team has been working with the Office of Community Relations to reach out to our commuters through various media outlets, print advertisements, social media, community meetings, operations, and school presentations. Every year, the Accident Reduction Team receives grants from the California Office of Traffic Safety to participate in various safety-related traffic operations. In 2017, the Accident Reduction Team received a $286,000 grant, which funded the DUI checkpoints, our saturation patrols, bicycle and pedestrian safety operations, crosswalk operations, and school bus operations. Several of the operations have been posted on social media, which receives enormous engagement from the community. What I'd like to do now is show you some of the videos from our crosswalk and school bus operation. The purpose of this is to monitor the crosswalk. As you can see, people walking across the street, big orange, bright vest, yellow, I should say. And as you can see, it's very difficult for people to even see that, and they continue to drive through the crosswalk. What that gets them is a citation. You can see that traffic is crazy. Now, picture your child walking to school, son or daughter walking to school across that street, how dangerous that is, especially in the morning hours without a crossing guard.
There they go.
There they go. Same thing with a school bus. When the bus stops, as you can see, the stop signs go out, and watch what happens. Technically, traffic should be stopping in both directions there. So as you can see, that's just two of the operations we do. If you look behind me, these gentlemen here are responsible for all of the traffic enforcement in the city of Garden Grove. A population, I will tell you, is about 200,000 people. I think with the results of Measure O coming in positively, this is going to be one of the units that we are definitely going to expand. When you think about it, they're in charge of all traffic collisions, safety in front of our schools. They're in charge of our parades, Strawberry Festival, all the ingress and egress of school graduations. So I tell you all this because I think it's really important to understand that all these people do is work. That's all they do is work. They're the hardest working unit we have in the police department just based on everything that we pile on top of them to do. And so I'm very proud of what you guys do on a daily basis. I tell you that all the time. Nobody works harder than you guys. People don't appreciate it because most of the time you're just writing tickets, right? And then we always tell people when we're doing enforcement, be careful what you wish for because it might be you in the neighborhood getting a ticket. So from me to you, I appreciate all your efforts, so thank you for that. In 2017, through their efforts and community outreach, the city saw those numbers of fatalities from 2017, or 2016, I told you it was 17. It was reduced to 10 the following year. And so far this year, we have 9, so their work continues. Obviously, this program is to discourage commuters from driving distracted and under the influence, and as a result, we will be conducting patrol saturations for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year's holiday. And then, in addition, we've also created an accident reduction team logo that they have that's going to identify them. So you'll start to see that on all of our publications, as well as our social media footprint out there. Just a logo for them to kind of let them know what we do. So at this time, guys, the mayor and city council would like to present the Garden Grove Police Department Accident Reduction Team with certificates of recognition for their dedication and their efforts to educate people on the importance of driving safely and following traffic laws. Thank you. Come on up, guys. Let's go ahead and step up. Good job. Thank you. He's good. Grab one of these. Pass them down. Just keep passing. Keep it if it's yours. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Ashby, can I have you this way a little more? Okay. So just a hammer, this way a little more. Couple shots, 1, 2, 3. And one more, 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we have another presentation. This is an overview and tips for the fall season as presented by Linneo Shields from SoCalGas.
Just a slight change before I get started. The agenda should read introduction, an overview of balanced energy, and then tips for the fall season. Good evening, Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Beard, City Council members, City Manager Scott Stiles, and the residents of Garden Grove. My name is Linneo Shields, and I'm the new Public Affairs Manager here in Orange County. SoCalGas is the largest natural gas distribution utility company in the United States, providing clean, safe, affordable, and reliable natural gas to 21.7 million residents, including the residents of Garden Grove. The distribution of natural gas allows residents to heat their homes, have hot water, dry their clothes economically and safely, and of course, cook nice, warm meals at home. The employees in your city also rely on natural gas for many industrial applications. SoCalGas has served communities in California for over 150 years and is committed to being a leader in the region's clean energy future. Additionally, choice and affordability are and will remain the top priority. In addition to my introduction, I'm here tonight to raise awareness of an ongoing issue in California about which many people are unaware. Thank you. California wants to electrify everything. A proposal which did not pass legislation this year would have required all new buildings to be all electric by 2022 and would require all existing buildings to be all electric by 2030. That's just around the corner if you think about it. While this proposal did not pass, you can be assured that many similar proposals will be coming. The choice we make about energy policy today will affect every Californian family and businesses. Addressing climate change will require to use all the tools and resources in our toolbox, including electricity and natural gas. The changes of going all electric sound simple, but the challenges are big and complex. We need an infrastructure that can actually support using renewable energy, not just when the sun shines or during off-peak times. Let me be clear, SoCalGas does not oppose electrification. If you want to use only electric appliances in your home, that's your choice. But don't take away the choice from those who want to use other fuel sources. The fact is that virtually every home in Garden Grove has electricity, and most also have natural gas. That's called balance. When choosing a home, only 1 in 2 homeowners would choose solely electric appliances. Furthermore, 2/3 opposing eliminating the use of natural gas and agree that natural gas should continue to be an energy source to keep utility bills affordable. Must be because natural gas is both affordable and reliable, as well as clean and renewable. So of course residents and businesses would love us. I'm alerting you to this balance may be threatened, and with it, economic stability of families and businesses could be threatened too. Forcing homeowners to replace their natural gas appliances is estimated to cost an average of $7,200 per home, and the cost of electricity would be $388 more per year than natural gas. Even though we've been providing our communities with safe and reliable service for over 150 years, SoCalGas recognizes and aims to accelerate the use of renewable natural gas. The renewable natural gas is a really neat technology. It's a carbon-negative fuel created by capturing and conditioning gas emissions from farms, landfills, and wastewater treatment plants. There's kind of a little diagram up there of how it works. So what a great alternative. Biogas, or renewable natural gas, which comes from organic sources already, can be captured, we can condition it, and put it right back into our existing infrastructure. And get this, if we just use 16% of renewable sources, it will have the same effect of greenhouse gas emissions than electrifying all of California, and at a much lower cost and realistically to achieve the goal by 2030. This further affirms our commitment to providing affordable, clean, and safe energy to communities we serve. With the balanced approach, we can achieve our goals, preserve choice, and minimize disruption. In closing, the point is you shouldn't have to choose between what some decision makers in California believe what is right for the environment and the reality of what families can afford. And with the balanced energy, you don't have to choose. Finally, during these colder winter months, I mean, it's all relative in SoCal, but please, we encourage our residents and our communities to continue to practice safety measures in and around their natural gas heaters and appliances. If you have still a wall heater in your home that allows to be lit with the pilot, please call us and we'll go out to your home free of charge to light these pilots. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call us, 800-427-2200. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I look forward to being your SoCalGas liaison. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll now move on to oral communications. I do have several cards, starting with Rebecca Rienzo. Rebecca? There.
Hi, my name is Rebecca. I'm a college student at Cal State Fullerton, and I'm writing a paper today on my experience. I just wanted to ask what are 3 problems Garden Grove is currently facing? Sorry, this is my first experience, so I'm not sure if I did that right or...
Sorry, however, go Rancho for starters. Oral communications is just you addressing us about issues. It's not, it's not a two-way dialogue, so you're not really allowed to ask questions, or we're not really allowed to respond.
Oh, okay,
But if you
I'm
want to leave
sorry.
us something, we're happy to reply kind of back to you if you give us your contact
I'm
info or
sorry,
something
I
like that.
misunderstand.
Yeah, or if you
Okay.
stick around, but yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Sorry about that, thank you. Tom Raber.
Hi, I'm Tom Raber, and I'm going to use my motto from last time I was here, we are family, okay? I love that. I wasn't going to congratulate Mayor Steve Jones, but I was just informed that it's really not technical a win until Thursday, so. 2 years ago was the first time I came here to the council meeting. The first time I came here was because somebody jumped my fence to put up Mayor Steve Jones's signage on the lot next to me. At that time, there was no house there. I asked at that time there to have a meeting with the mayor and the chief of police. Never happened. A year later, November of 2017, that property was sold. That's when my issues started with the sidewalk being blocked. Just think about it, it's been a year. The address there is 12782 Bailey Street. This issue still was and still happens. In fact, the gate was just removed. Only the gates was just removed Friday, November 9th, but the issues still continue. I had called 3 times since I was here 3 weeks ago, and I called twice this week, today and yesterday. And believe it or not, the police showed up today to tell the people to move their vehicle. But the other ones did not. Part of one of them that I called was that their bulldozer bent the pole for the fence, and so therefore that pole was bent over into the sidewalk. I called the police, and the officer, Nick, did show up. Nice gentleman. I told him to go ahead and call somebody who's on duty. No idea who. So he actually pushed the metal bar back over so it's vertical, and the issue was corrected. So again, today the police did show up and the vehicle was moved. Again, today I'm asking the mayor, Steve Jones, for a meeting with yourself and the chief of police. That's on that property. Question of that property is there is a fence still there, the gates are just not there, since 2009. How much has the city been paying a month on renting that fence? And also, who's been paying for that fence for the last year? My mom hasn't voted in a while, so I took her out Tuesday to vote. We went to the West Grove Clubhouse. My mom looked at that ramp and she says, "I don't think I can make it." So today, I went there. The rise is 16 inches. Per ADA compliance, the slope only can be no greater than 4.8%. That brings it to 16 feet. On that ramp, there's 46 inches of a landing and 10 feet 8 inches of ramp. That's not ADA compliant. What you guys need to do is take that planter that's to the right of it that has only 2 little plants in it and correct the problem. And my last one, I know the 5 minutes is probably pretty close. Last time I was here to ask about the 980 work schedule. I'm asking the council and the mayor to put that on the agenda. Everybody in the city of Garden Grove and other contractors should have the right to come to City Hall 5 days a week. Thank you.
Thank you. Paulette Home. Paulette Home.
Hello. Good evening, City Council. My name is Paulette Holm, and I'm the Census Manager for CityNet. CityNet provides case management services to assist individuals and families who are currently homeless. By collaborating with partners, we are able to successfully refer our clients to emergency shelters, transitional programs, and complete assessments for permanent housing. In the first fiscal quarter 2018, 23 Garden Grove clients enrolled in case management services with CityNet have exited from the streets. Along with Garden Grove, we also have contracts in the cities of Buena Park, Cypress, Anaheim, Stanton, Westminster, Tustin, Fullerton, La Habra, La Palma, Placentia, the Courtyard Shelter down in Santa Ana, and the Flood Control Channel. We were chosen by the North Orange County Public Safety Task Force to head the North Spa Census this last spring, which included partnering with law enforcement, volunteers, and nonprofit organizations. To the reason why I'm here tonight, I'm here to share about the 2018 point-in-time count. Every 2 years, HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, provides $23 million to Orange County to assist homeless neighbors through the continuum of care, which stewards the funds to the best of their ability. HUD mandates that all those receiving funds must do a count of homeless neighbors nationwide. For this reason, CityNet has been contracted through the County of Orange to lead this project. The point-in-time count will use smartphones and tablets to drop pins that provide accurate geographical data of where and when homeless neighbors were surveyed. Law enforcement will also be participating both because of their familiarity with the cities and to provide security to volunteers who will be doing the surveys. The data collected will allow the county to have updated, accurate information on subpopulations such as veterans and those fleeing from domestic violence. The information will help the county to implement the appropriate resources needed for specific populations. Orange County's point-in-time street count will take place on Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019. There will be both morning and evening shifts where teams will be going out to every city, including here in Garden Grove. Volunteers will be serving homeless neighbors by using their smartphones and their tablets to drop pins of where the surveys were actually completed. The volunteers will be partnering with law enforcement, homeless providers, and with CityNet to explore neighborhoods and accumulate an accurate count of the homeless in the city of Garden Grove and all across our county. Each team of volunteers will be given a set of maps that they will walk and drive to complete surveys with individuals. There are also volunteer opportunities available to assist at deployment centers and assembling kits prior to the event to be used as a token of gratitude to those who do complete the survey. For more information on how to get involved, I have some flyers, but you can also visit our website at everyonecounts.oc.org. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's all the oral communications cards I have. I do have a couple others for later items in the agenda. So with that, we'll conclude oral communications. We'll recess and conduct successor agency business. Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Member Beard?
Here.
Member O'Neill?
Here.
Member Tu Hawin? Here. Member Klopfenstein? Here. Member Kim Nguyen?
Here.
Vice Chair Bowie?
Yeah.
And Chair Jones.
Here. We already did oral communications simultaneously with City Council, so we have consent items, just 2 items. Receive and file the minutes and approval of the warrants. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, any matters from agency members? Seeing none, we will adjourn back to City Council. Which brings us to consent items. It's recommended that items 3A through 3J be acted on simultaneously unless anyone would like to pull one of the items. Any requests to pull or any abstentions, any of that stuff? Okay, do I have a motion?
Made motion.
Second.
Call the vote.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, so we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tu Hawin? Yes. Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, so that takes us on to public hearings, item 4A.
We have a public hearing. It's an introduction and first reading of an ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove approving Plan Unit Development Number PUD -104-73 revised 2018, amending the uses permitted on a portion of a Plan Unit Development Number PUD 104-73 to facilitate the development of an automatic car wash, a drive-through pad restaurant, and a sit-down restaurant on the parcels located at 12101 and 12111 Valley View Street, and amending the sign requirements of the PUD. And staff, Maria Parra is here to provide the report.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is a request to amend Plan Unit Development Number PUD 104-73 to facilitate the development of the Starlight Cinema property located on Valley View Street just south of Chapman Avenue with a new automatic car wash, 2 new restaurants, and also the expansion of the existing movie theater. The proposed site consists of 2 parcels, which are outlined in the black dotted area, with a combined land area of 2.71 acres. These parcels are improved with the movie theater and also a vacant restaurant building. The properties are part of a larger plan unit development consisting of six separate properties, 4 commercial properties located along Valley View Street, a senior care facility located on Chapman Avenue, and also a 126-unit condominium, residential condominium development that is accessed from Chapman Avenue. The PUD was originally approved in 1973 to allow the construction of the bowling alley, which is just south of the project site, the movie theater, the restaurant, and McDonald's, as well as the senior living facility. And these are the only uses allowed within the PUD. The proposed amendment will facilitate the redevelopment of the movie theater property and the vacant restaurant building by allowing an automatic car wash, a drive-through restaurant, and also a sit-down restaurant. And as part of the proposed project, the applicant proposes to remodel and expand the existing movie theater. This is an overview of the existing site plan. So you have the existing bowling alley, the movie theater, the vacant restaurant, which would be demolished, and also McDonald's. So this site plan shows the existing circulation between the properties and also access that is gained along from Valley View Street. So the project area is the gray shaded area. And the properties currently have shared access, and only shared parking is provided between the bowling alley and the movie theater property. This is the proposed site plan. The proposed site plan includes the construction of a 4,241 square foot automatic car wash on the north side of the property, which would be operated by Express 5 Express. The construction of a new Jack in the Box pad building, which is 1,870 square feet with a drive-through, a new 2,700 square foot sit-down restaurant, as well as an expansion to the existing movie theater restaurant. To the new, to existing movie theater, which is 2,846 square feet. The property would be continued to be accessed from the 2 driveways on Valley View Street, although this driveway is going to be relocated just to accommodate the placement of the existing car wash. The circulation along the rear of the property will remain the same, and changes to the circulation and parking along the front of the property will change to accommodate the pad building. The project will provide a total of 179 parking spaces. 159 parking spaces would be your standard parking stalls, and 20 parking spaces would be counted as queuing along the driveway for the Jack in the Box and also the car wash. There would be a total of 20 vacuum stations provided for the car wash, 15 along the side of the building and 5 located along the rear of the property. This is an elevation of the proposed car wash. It would be operated by Fast 5 Express, and this company operates several car washes throughout Orange County, Los Angeles County, Riverside, and also San Bernardino counties. The elevations would incorporate very roof lines and massing, as long as exterior finishes that include stucco panels, rib metal horizontal panels, as well as a prominent window system along the south side of the building. A conditional use permit is required for the car wash in order to minimize any impacts to adjacent uses, including the residential properties and also to any of the adjacent businesses. And the hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. This is an elevation and also the floor plan for the proposed Jack in the Box restaurant. The restaurant will incorporate the current corporate image for Jack in the Box, would include varying architectural massing and roof lines, would have a prominent red-colored corrugated metal panel that wraps around the building, which would also be used for signage. The floor plan is a typical Jack in the Box design. Total building area would be 1,870 square feet, and also outdoor seating would be provided. This is an existing floor plan of the movie theater restaurant because the movie theater is going to be remodeled and expanded. So the movie theater currently has 4 auditoriums, 627 seats. The proposed remodel and expansion includes a total of 6 auditoriums and 326 seats. So the number of seats are going to be reduced in order to accommodate the recliner seats. And also the box office is going to be relocated from the outside to the interior of the lobby. The exterior of the movie theater would be remodeled, which would include a new burgundy-colored perforated metal panels over the movie theater storefront, along with a new marquee to display movie theater posters, and also a new tower for new signage. The PUD is going to include a modification to the signage in order to be consistent with the C1 zone. These are elevations of the site elevations, which would include the restaurant that's going to be constructing just to the north, and also the movie theater, and also the rear elevation for the movie theater. And all the building materials would be consistent with the existing movie theater, and the new pet restaurant building would be a stucco finish, and all the exterior colors would also match. So the goal of the proposed project is to assist with the redevelopment of the Blighted Shopping Center. The proposed amendment and the project is consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan for the residential mixed use 2. So the general plan encourages the revitalization of aging, underused, and deteriorated commercial centers, encourages a mix of retail shops and services to meet the needs of the area's present and potential clients, and also encourages facade renovations, enhanced parking areas, landscaping, and lighting. And the proposed PUD amendment will fulfill the goals and policies of the general plan by providing the necessary parking lot improvements, landscaping, and also introduce new restaurants and services to the neighborhood. City Council is asked to take the following actions: to conduct a public hearing and to introduce a first reading of the attached ordinance approving an amendment to PUD number PUD 10473 revised 2018. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, before we open the public hearing, any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, we will open the public hearing, and I do have 2 cards. Jim Forgay? I'm sorry? Forgy, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city representatives. I'm Jim Forgy with Architects Orange. We've worked together with the property owner on the project. We feel we've presented a very good project for you tonight. The property owner is here as well as the car wash representatives to answer any questions you might have tonight. I did want to express my appreciation to Maria Parra for getting us to this point. We've gone through planning commission and also went through a neighborhood community meeting at the theater. Actually, there was 85 people attending. Very positive reaction to our presentation there. So I would like to say I'm here for any questions you might have, and also the property owner and the car wash people are here to answer any questions you might have as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Marlon Hale.
I'm the acoustical consultant, so I'm here to respond to any issues that deal with noise.
Thank you. Okay, any others wishing to speak on this item?
I forgot to fill out a card. My
Please come
name is
forward.
Tom Utman. I'm the owner of Fast 5 Express.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
To answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, any others? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and I'll defer to my colleagues. I think I'd like to hear from Mayor Pro Tem Chris Beard first as the West Garden Grove District Council member who has really led the charge and relentlessly pushed us and pushed staff to go pursue development opportunities, and I think we're very excited that this one came forward. So I'd like to hear from.
Thank you, Mayor.
Pro Tem
And
Beard.
it is an exciting time. I think the people of that area of town have long looked for some revitalization of the area. I really, truly thank the property owner for stepping forward to presenting an excellent project. It was well received, the community hearing that was held in the theater. I think they did their due diligence. It's an excellent project, and just to see the Chinese buffet go away is certainly a dream or nightmare leaving that into town. But again, it will truly transform and revitalize that area. All the amenities. I especially like the fact that the property owner, the development will also be inclusive of a restaurant, a family-style restaurant. It's been long sought by that area of town. It will be well received. It will be well attended. The express car wash, it will be also well frequented. I know I will use that. As a matter of fact, that's the new wave or new age of car wash of the varieties that you can experience, and hopefully more development or more. It will have a springboard effect for the surrounding area as well. And so I wholeheartedly support this project. I know the community supports this project, and thank you for coming into town. My only comment or request is some consideration of calling it the West Grove Starlight Cinema area or theater, just to brand that area of town. So with that, welcome to town, and thank you for being a good neighbor and reaching out to all the community, and we look forward to frequently your establishment. And I was there just over the weekend watching a movie, and I'm looking forward to the luxury seats that will be a part of the new expanded theater. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any others? I'll just add on to that and just say thank you so much for sticking with us, for listening, for being just a wonderful and active part of the discussion. We're excited, we're thrilled that you've accommodated by including a sit-down restaurant. I think that's going to be a lot of fun and something that we heard as sort of feet on the street out there that people want in that area. So we appreciate that you actually cared to listen and go through that. This is going to be a wonderful new project. It's very timely. That part of town is screaming for something fresh and new to pop up, and you're going to drive that force, and we hope you'll continue to look for other opportunities around that area in the future. So thank you so much. Any other comments, or Chris, would you like to make a
I
motion?
would like to make the motion.
I'd like to
Second it.
Okay. Call the vote.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Member Tu-Ha-Nguyen?
Yes.
Member Bowie?
Yes.
Member Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard?
Definitely yes.
Mayor Jones? Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, we're on to 5 items for consideration. We have 4 different items. 5A.
Item 5A is an authorization to appropriate funds for the previously approved Siemens Industries, Inc. agreement for the city's facilities energy efficiency project. And staff Alice Chang is here to provide the report.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. On July 10th, City Council approved the award of a contract to Siemens Industries Incorporated to perform a citywide energy efficiency modernization project. City Council at the same time approved the interfund loan and repayment between the Risk Management Internal Service Fund and the General Fund. As the loan was made in fiscal year 2018-19 with repayment to begin in fiscal year 2019-20, the General Purpose Fund has the cash to cover the cost of the Siemens Industries contract. At the time the contract was awarded, the required request for appropriation to make payments on the contract was not requested. The Siemens Industries contract was awarded in the amount of $2.8 million, which is the appropriation request staff is making of City Council this evening. It is recommended that City Council authorize appropriation of $2.8 million from the General Purpose Fund to make payments on the Siemens Industries Incorporated contract as previously approved by City Council on July 10th, 2018. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
I have one quick question,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor. At this point, what percentage are we into the project as far as completion, roughly? Just barely, just some lighting retrofit stuff? 5%, okay, good. But I have already seen the improvement already when you walk into City Hall. It's good. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm stoked to see this going forward. It's been a while, and it'll be a great benefit to see all the things that get implemented and all the savings we'll generate from this. So if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a motion. Call the vote.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tu-Ha-Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
No.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion receives 6 yes votes with Councilmember Bowie voting no.
5B.
Item 5B is an award of a contract to Pacific Hydrotech Corporation and appropriate funding for the construction of project number 7359, West Haven Reservoirs Rehabilitation Project. And Mr. Bill Murray is here to provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, the City Council is being asked to award a contract to Pacific Hydrotech Corporation for the rehabilitation of the West Haven reservoirs. In 2013, a condition assessment of the reservoirs was completed, which led to the design of a rehabilitation project. The design was completed in 2015 and basically consists of crack, spall, and joint repair of the twin 10 million gallon reservoirs. Also included are ancillary work to the site and exterior piping and fixtures. The construction was placed on hold due to a lack of funding. Now that funding has been secured, staff bid out the project on October 4th and opened 3 bids. The lowest responsible bidder is Pacific Hydrotech Corporation with a bid amount of almost $4.5 million. The bid amount is over the amount listed in the 2018 and 19 capital improvement plan budget and requires a new budget appropriation from the water fund. Should council award the contract tonight, work can begin early next year and should be complete by the summer of 2019. Well, basically the end of the summer of 2019. There is no impact to the general fund. Staff recommends approval and execution of the attached agreement and appropriation of the required water funds. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available should you have any questions.
Any questions of staff?
I don't have a question, a comment.
Please.
This reservoir sits in District 5. I'm happy to see this project coming to fruition. I'm happy that it's fully funded. Obviously, our drinking water and our infrastructure is extremely important, so I'm just happy to see this project moving forward.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have a question, just by basis of comparison. Westminster, like within the last 20 years, did they have a reservoir explode or something like that? Did they have the same?
They had a failure. They had partially exposed tanks. They weren't fully underground. And they didn't do these types of conditions assessments and let alone any rehabilitation work. So eventually the water infiltrated the sidewall of the tank and rusted out the rebar, and it basically flooded out a couple neighborhoods.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you prioritized it. We're funding it, and so, yeah, I fully support this.
Couple questions. Obviously, this was approved in 2013, and the design was completed in 2015. What is it that are causing almost a 100% increase in the budget? Was that because the cost of inflation, or was it because we go beyond of what had been accessed in 2015? Because I noticed it's only 3 years apart, and yet the cost is double.
It's skyrocketed, and that's reflective of our economy right now. We also have some tariffs that are currently in effect that have some bearing on this, not a lot, but most importantly, contractors are busy and they are charging a premium to get their work done. So unfortunately, one of the time-honored traditions is doing as many public works projects as you can during the times of recession/depression, and the theory there is that you get really good bang for your buck, and you'll have projects that last 20 to 30, maybe even 50 years. We weren't able to take advantage of that at that particular point in time, so our costs have gone up, and I expect this to be occurring not only on specialty projects like this, but also our asphalt projects and just about anything else that we do, because everybody's just busy.
So because we were forced to wait 3 years. Inflation is almost 100%.
I wouldn't call it inflation. That's just, a cost increase
cost increase. So
Yeah.
we are not doing much more than what the original scope is. It's just the cost is double over the last 3 years.
In the last, since the original project went out to right now, the parking lot that's, it's used by a lot of the activities out there for softball, I think is primary. It is basically, that parking lot's fallen apart, and so we added that. Other than that, everything else is the same, and the cost just came back. I mean, even traffic signals, which are, the poles are made out of aluminum, they've almost doubled in cost. We used to get that done for $175, maybe $200,000 for a large signal. Now it's $375 for a small signal.
I'm not saying that I'm not supporting this project, but what seemed surprising to me, and perhaps this is a lesson learned for the city council as well as for staff, because had we know that it could go up twice the cost, perhaps we should consider this a much higher priority, because if we didn't, because we didn't do it then, because we didn't have the budget in 2015, and we were forced to wait 3 years. Now we have to pay double for it, and it's not just a few $100,000 more. Like, if this is a let's say a $500,000 project, and then we are forced to pay $1 million, that's very different than a $2 million project now become $4.5 million project. So I think this is a lesson learned for the city, and even for me, for myself, that in the future, if something like this, I better be awakened by, a 2x4 on my back seat, Councilman Bowie. You better take a serious look at this, and I'll look at the fund, because otherwise it may double the cost, and you have to pay an extra $2 million for it. So, having seen this, I think we should, note this in our workbooks and consider this in the future. And if you give us the hindsight, we need to give you more support in this kind of project, so that we don't get hit by a huge cost increase.
I think that all the points you made are excellent and well taken. To be quite frank, I did expect some sort of a cost increase, but there was a few things that were occurring back then. We were just out of the drought, and to get through the drought, we stopped all of our capital improvements, and we used all of our reserves, just like we're supposed to, so that we didn't have to pass the increase on to the residents at that time. But there was enough of a heads up to where we needed to start our rate study, which we went through. The other part of it is that, to be quite frank, I didn't expect our current president to be elected, and I don't think that anybody else did either. And when, I expected the economy to pick up a little bit with who we all thought would be elected, but with this gentleman, the economy has taken off significantly. So I think to a certain extent you have very good points, and to other extents it would require some crystal ball. So, once again, my lack of psychic ability is affecting my job performance.
Any other questions or comments, or a motion?
Second.
Call the vote.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tu-Ha Nguyen? Yes. Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Item 5C.
Item 5C is an introduction and first reading of an ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove, revising Section 5.28.030 of Chapter 5.28 of the Title 5 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code, changing the due date for submission of applications for temporary fireworks stand permits. And City Attorney Omar Sandoval is here to provide the report.
Mayor, members of the City Council, the ordinance before you will change the due date for temporary fireworks stands from the third Monday in May of each year to March 31st of each year. This request comes from the Business Tax Division and Fire Department because they need the extra time in order to review all the applications and make determinations in sufficient time to issue the permits before the 4th of July, and also to allow some time for any appeals that may come before the council as a result of the review of those applications. The recommendation is to introduce the ordinance by title only. You've already waived reading the full ordinance, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of council? Seeing none, motion? Call the vote.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuhawin?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Klumbenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Wen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, item 5D.
For item 5B, we have an introduction and first reading of an ordinance entitled An Initiative Ordinance of the People of the City of Garden Grove, adding Chapter 3.09 to Title 3 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code, imposing a transaction and use sales tax to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, and City Attorney Omar Sandoval is here to provide the report.
Mayor, members of the City Council, this item before you is really a formality. This is an initiative that was presented to the voters as of 5 p.m. today. The voters, 63.4% of the votes counted were in favor of adopting the ordinance. State law requires the City Council, though, to actually separately take an action on this in order for the state of California to collect the tax. So at this point, it would just be a formality, because in my opinion, the voters have voted to pass this initiative. And so it's before you, again, as a formality. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of council? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to move the first reading.
Second.
Sorry. Call the vote.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuhawin?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Abstain?
Councilmember Klumbenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Wen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion received, 6 yes votes, with Councilmember Bowie abstaining.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes items. I'm going to say we're going to take a quick, sorry guys in red, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break for a potty break and also to do cake for John O'Neill for his birthday, and then we'll come back and finish up. Alrighty, thank you. We will reconvene. Thank you for allowing us that break. Happy birthday, Councilmember John O'Neill.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we're back in session and on to item 6A under matters for discussion.
And the item 6A is a discussion of proposal from the Orange County Fire Authority for Fire Services as requested by the City Council, and Ms. Ann Eifert is here to provide the report.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, let me just make a couple of introductory remarks before Ann speaks. I want to just kind of bring City Council up to speed. I think, since the last time we were here talking about this, we left that meeting with the idea that the city staff and the Fire Association, the Fire Management Association, OCFA, and I think 3 members of the City Council volunteered to sit on some of those meetings as well, including Councilman Bowie, Councilmember Kloppenstein, Councilmember Kim Nguyen, and that group of people, I think we've had 3 meetings since the last time we got together. We met on September 19th, and then more recently, we just had follow-up meetings on November 1st and November 8th. Some of the time that we've spent kind of working through each other, we've been focused on a few things that I'll mention, then I'll turn it over to Ann for her comments. We've updated some of those initial spreadsheets that you saw. So you will remember the initial analysis that we did that looked at the 2.92 and the 4.5 increases over 10 years. We did that initial analysis, and then that led us to have some conversations about, let's try and do kind of an apples-to-apples comparison. And I guess in trying to understand what apples-to-apples were, I think what we were trying to do is, what would it look like if we tried to replicate what OCFA's model is, and what would the cost of that be? So we spent some time really looking at that. I would say a good bit of what the group has done over those 3 meetings. One of the things we spent a lot of time doing was reviewing some of the assumptions that we made, and that got into things like, do we need a full-time EOC director? Do we need an extra quint in reserve? Do we need mechanics? All those sort of things. So, and then I think we kind of, at one of our last council meetings when we talked about that, we looked at some of those comparison charts, and we tried to show, kind of what some of the thoughts are of the association, what some of the city staff's thoughts were, and then we tried to indicate where we sort of agreed, where we thought we could kind of live with, and then just areas where we agreed to disagree. So we kind of went through that analysis. And then I think also out of that meeting, the last meeting with the City Council, I think, Mr. Mayor, you asked us about trying to do some sensitivity analysis about, we were in the whole discussion of how do we get more competitive as a fire department, and what would different percentage increases in our salary schedule, how would that impact sort of things? So we tried to do some kind of work in that sensitivity analysis area, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We've also had discussions with the group about what our paramedic salary survey looks at. that's always, I think we all agreed, trying to compare is sometimes difficult. Almost every department in the county has different sort of forms of either educational pay or longevity pay or this or that. So I don't think it's not easy to perfectly match a department up exactly. So we tried to look at some base pay data and try to look at some of that information. And I might ask our HR director to just take a minute or two to just quickly talk about that. And then I think at our most recent meeting, I think Councilman Bowie, you asked us a question of trying to look at try to get a baseline data of what it would take to get us competitive, at least at the very beginning stage, so we could have an understanding of kind of where we're at in terms of looking forward, especially at that entry level, if I can kind of summarize it that way. So those are some of the things. Now, so I realize that a lot of you haven't been a part of some of these discussions, so we want to come back and we'll try and summarize it pretty quickly. We don't want to go on and on forever. So I'm going to ask Ms. Eifert to kind of go through some of the stuff that I've talked about, walk us through some of that. Laura might take a second or two to just talk about the paramedics survey. And obviously Chief Schultz is here and will be available for any questions. And I imagine maybe you might have some comments from the Fire Association or the Fire Management Association if they want to make any comments. So with that, I will turn it over to our budget manager.
Thank you, Mr. Stiles, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council. I just want to go through just a quick little review of what we've already covered in meetings past. If you will recall, back in on August 28th, 2018, we did have a study session, and at that time, we provided some cost analysis using a similar OCFA deployment model. In this analysis, we did add 12 paramedics to the analysis, and at that time, using a 2.92% escalator, the cost difference to go to OCFA would be $14.5 million over the 10 years. I just wanted to use this chart here. There was a little bit confusion on what the 2.92% increase meant, and I just wanted to take a minute to kind of walk the City Council through this. So at that study session, we provided some costs. We estimated the total fire budget to be about $24.8 million. In that included the pension obligation that we pay to PERS, retired medical premium contribution, and then the remaining budget consists of labor and other operating costs. We also have some fire department revenue offset. This is about $150,000 a year. This is the money that we receive for permits and plan check fees. So the net cost of the fire, net cost of Garden Grove Fire for fiscal year 18-19 is estimated about $24.7 million, so $24,693,581. And then when we use a 2.92% escalator, we take that and we multiply the 18-19 labor and operating costs by the 2.92%. Again, the PERS is a number that we get from CalPERS, so that stays stagnant. That's just the money that we pay to them. So that leaves an increase of about $620,000 for labor and operating costs. And that number could be used as potential step increases, increase in retirement contributions, not including the pension liability, because again, that's called out separately. So that would be the increase in normal cost and any potential cost of living raises. So this is, for lack of a better term, salary increases. At the study session, we also used a 4.5% escalator. Again, OCFA's maximum increase that they can charge to their cash contract cities is a 4.5% increase. And using 4.5% increase, the cost over 10 years is about $15.4 million. Using Councilmember Kloppenstein's suggestion, I compacted the numbers, so you just see the first 5 years and then the 10-year total. With that same model, using 4.5%, labor and other operating costs would increase about $955,000 using this particular model. And again, we were estimating the $955,000 would potentially include any step increases, increase in retirement contributions, and raises. So after the study session, as Mr. Stiles mentioned, we met with the union representatives, and we talked about some of the things that we would agree to add into the analysis. And as a summary, those things were, the first one is reducing an emergency operations coordinator position from full-time to part-time. We originally had that position at a full-time cost of $175,000 a year. We estimate that a part-time coordinator would be about $70,000. We included a one-time paramedic training cost. This is the extra additional cost to send some of our current firefighters to paramedic school. This is like the overtime to cover them when they're not around, or when they're at school, excuse me. The addition of a reserve quint and the addition of a full-time arson investigator position. So then, using these additional assumptions, we would estimate the total city Garden Grove Fire estimated budget to be about $24.8. The additional assumptions was an additional $388,000, $388,533. And then the total fire budget with these new assumptions is $25.2 million. Again, we would offset that by the revenue that we collect. Net cost of the fire department would be about $25,082,114. And for the first year, we would have a $1,668,042 in savings. I also want to reiterate that the first year includes one-time additional savings that we would have if we didn't have to purchase some vehicles. If we went to OCFA, we can sell older vehicles at a cost of about $190,000. And all this detailed information is included in your packet. I just summarized it here. And again, with these new assumptions for a 10-year total, it would be about $10.3 million. Same assumptions using a 4.5% escalator. We would have, over the 10 years, about $11 million additional cost if we decided to contract with OCFA. So taking it a step further, we put together a sensitivity analysis. So what this summary chart here is, if we increased our labor budget anywhere between 1% and 5% in the base year, what would that do to the 10-year cost or savings to the city? So if we increase fiscal year 18-19 by 1%, that would be an additional amount in the first year of about $175,000. We would then take that new base amount and factor another 2.92% over the next 10 years. And in that, the total 10-year cost drops to $8.3 million. If we use a 4.5% escalator, that cost would be about $8.9 million. Following suit, it would be 2%. If we use a 2% cost escalator, it would be about $350,000 additional to the first year, fiscal year 18-19 budget. The 10-year cost then would be $6.3 million or $6.7 million, depending on which scenario you used. And to skip down further, if we used a 5% escalator, it would cost an additional $874,000. The 10-year additional cost with 2.92% escalator is $357,000. And for the 4.5% escalator, it's about $273,000. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Colleagues, questions, comments? I can start with one. There was discussion before, just to go backwards and maybe frame this in a perspective. This has been a long time in the making, and a lot of meetings and a lot of kind of drilling down and back and forth. between various departments and all of us being involved and watching over these things. You know, starting out with the proposal from OCFA, then city staff's response to that, kind of taking into account all the city-specific variables and coming out with the initial 10-year projection, then hearing, you know, kind of going through discovery and kind of drilling down into the various details. And as Scott mentioned before, there was the point in time where we said, let's figure out what variables we disagree on. Let's kind of lock ourselves into a room and hash those out. There were about 8 different variables, if I recall, approximately, that were on that list. And I think all but a couple of them were agreed upon in terms of narrowing down by consensus, what's the cost of a EOC should be and the other various variables. The only ones that weren't really resolved were more the ones that sort of cross over into that fine line of kind of bordering into labor negotiations, right? And so with that, we said, let's talk about a sensitivity analysis. So we frame it in a perspective that we as decision makers have data to work with in terms of looking at. One thing that came up during that process that seemed to slip under the carpet, at least right now, unless I just missed it, is a lot of discussion about recruitment and retention and this possibility of making the city, if we were to look at it from a stay standpoint, then what we would have to do in that apples to apples comparison to make our city more attractive for new hires, so recruitment and retention. And there was some talk about eliminating some of the bottom tier steps in our pay scale or whatever to accommodate that. Is that anywhere in this spreadsheet, or did that not hit this spreadsheet that you just showed us right now?
It's in your packet. I think it's at the very end of your packet, and then Laura is here to answer that question.
But is that factored into these numbers, or is that another layer that would need to be contemplated
So,
to get kind of a true apples to apples between stay or go?
So Laura can talk about a little bit of what that percentage might look like, but that sensitivity analysis would in fact have that. So whether it's a 5% to get them to what we might deem a level where we want the recruitment to start or retention. So anywhere between the 1 and 5% that council decides that number would be would indicate the additional cost. So like I said, if that number was 5%, then it would be an additional cost to the city over 10 years of $357,000 using the 2.92% model.
Okay. Colleagues, or do you want to address that?
Well, just to add on that, there should be a sheet in your packet that has a salary survey, and this, just so you know, is just a very basic salary survey. Normal salary surveys would include a lot more information in regard to education pay, longevity pay, medical expenses, medical that's provided by the city, that kind of thing. So this is just very basic. You'll see on the left side the low salary and the cities are in rank. You'll see on the right side the high salary.
Do you have a page number on the bottom of your sheet?
446.
Thank you. Got it. Thank you.
So all of this information is information that is discussed during negotiations when we come to the table with the union to talk about their contract. The possibility of dropping some steps, that's certainly possible. The possibility of providing a cost of living or a salary increase, that's certainly possible. So you're provided with the ranks on the right, and you can see that Garden Grove is rank 7 for the high salary. Currently.
Wait. Oh, okay. Rank
And for
7.
low salary, we're at the bottom.
We're at the bottom.
But for high salary,
Yes.
we're 7 out of 11.
Right.
Okay.
So initially, when we talked about eliminating some steps, that would move that low salary ranking up.
Correct.
That's what the objective would be by eliminating those steps, correct?
Correct. So if we dropped 3 steps and we did a 1% increase, just saying that would move our low step to rank 4.
If I'm understanding the table correctly, it would be to say if you drop steps A, B, and C, then it would move our lowest step up to and in between 4 and 5 or something on that. Okay.
Mayor and colleagues, if I may, Councilmember Klopfenstein and I have been working with the association, with OCFA, and with our city management for the last, I guess, couple months. And it's not an easy task because we are, targeting a very complex, operation and finance and budget. And when we deal with this type of decision, we believe that the city council need to have, vital information as comprehensively and as accurately as we can, so that we can judge the difficulties involved, whether we go left, we go right, or we go straight. And so when I remember during June or July timeframe when the OCFA proposal just being presented to us, we think it was a very, very good proposal, and it saved us a lot of money. And then a few months afterward, we were surprised to find out that, look, we didn't address the pension issue. And so when we factor in the pension issue liability, the saving now become a $14 million cost, and everyone was very alarmed by it. And then we look at that and we said, look, we haven't done our diligence in order to understand the true cost of what it will be for us moving forward. And so that's why a committee was assigned, and Councilmember Klopfenstein and I was asked to work with various, with the association, with OCFA, and with city management to try to tame that beast. And at that time, it is very important for us, as I realize that we cannot compare to something that is in the past. We need to compare the OCFA proposal to something that we think we need to implement and provide for our residents. And what was it? What is it that we want to do? That is, obviously, we do not want to compare apple and apple in the sense that we want to duplicate their infrastructure, because it is not something that we want to compare with. But what we want to do is we want to compare the quality services, the type of services that we want to provide to our residents. And that is, most importantly, to be able to maintain 6 minutes or less response time as much as we can. Begin with that notion, we then realize that in the past couple years, we are able to meet only about 30%. Is that right, Chief?
Yeah, 38% of the time.
38% of the time. And the OCFA model, because of the other resources that they have 2 paramedics, they was project that we might be able to meet 60% of the time, the 6 minutes or less. And so that is what we would like to base on, because we know every second that is going to hit when someone need paramedics or need fire. Every second count. And so with that, we take a look at both proposal and see, and we want to compare to what is it that we want to do. We also understand that the firefighters we still not having a labor contract because of various reasons. And so comparing to the old salary is not realistic. We need to compare to what it is going to be after let's just say we do it in-house. then we know we are going to have to give them a raise. And so the baseline should begin with that increase in mind, and every people will have a different idea of how much that should be. But that is something that we cannot touch because we don't want to complicate the labor negotiation, and that's why we categorize them as sensitivity adjustment. And so with all of those complexity, I think what I have asked staff is that we don't know how much it will be, but let's just give the city council some range, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, and 5%, with the understanding that if we decided to do it in-house, those numbers are just for analysis, for evaluation of the cost. It doesn't mean that number will be the base for negotiation. So this is why we come up with that number. And there are many other cost factor or cost saving that we have not addressed, but they are a little more smaller. Like if we do it in-house, there will be a cost for hiring the new chief. And we don't know what the new chief salary will be. We could assume that it will be the same. It may be small, it will be lower or maybe higher. We don't know that yet. So given that, I think the number that staff put together here is somewhat realistic on what we can expect. The difference will be. There will be some, plus or minus adjustment there, but I think this is very much in tune with what the reality would be. And staff have been doing a really tough job in trying to tame down this beast. And I think with Councilmember Klopfenstein and I have been involved with everyone for the last couple of months. We kind of know very much what they are. And so I would like to use this time for my colleagues to ask questions.
Unless you're burning to do it, I did have a card and a request to speak from Eric Thorson. I don't know when you'd like to bring him up. Should we comment more first and then bring up, or do you want to bring him up now? Is there? Yeah. Would you like to come up? Let's bring him up. Let's bring him on up.
Excuse me here. I got to get my little notes set. I had to write some new stuff down. Council members, city staff, city manager, residents, City of Garden Grove. My name is Eric Thorson, and I am a firefighter paramedic with the City of Garden Grove and a Local 2000 board member. Tonight, as you know, this has been a long process. It has been a process that has consisted of many, many meetings, many conversations, tours, and presentations. We have vetted this proposal to within an inch of its life. I'd like to take this time to thank city staff, community leaders and organizations, and of course the Orange County Fire Authority for being so helpful as we go through this process. It has not been easy, and it has at times been somewhat contentious. The cost analysis has shown that with a contractual adjustment of 5%, it will be an overall cost to go to the Orange County Fire Authority of anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 over 10 years, or $25,000 to $35,000. Now, I want to talk about the salary survey because the salary survey that we initially got from the city left out the city of Newport Beach, interestingly enough, which is the highest paid city in this county. We actually did a salary survey using our accountants and our numbers, and we are 8th in the county, and that is 100% accurate, and we are 7.06% behind 5th. Now, why do we want to be 5th? Because we're the 5th largest city in this county. And we don't want to be $1 below 4 or $1 above 5. We want to be right in the middle between 4 and 5, and that's 7.06%, and that's indisputable. What we said was, let's do a 5% sensitivity study. Now, I'm going to quickly take a sidebar. Mayor Jones, you asked if the 2 steps had been dropped in the analysis. At the last meeting we had on the 8th, they were not. And had they been dropped, this would have adjusted your labor rate. But they were not dropped at our sensitivity analysis meeting. That being said, we're back to the 250 to 350,000 over 10 years. What you're being asked to do tonight takes courage. It takes courage to make bold decisions and tough changes. It takes wisdom to not only see today or tomorrow, but to see years in the future. And you should all be commended for exercising that judiciously. There's only one plan that will address every issue that we have right now. Response times, recruitment and retention, ability to handle rising call volumes that are going up at the rate of 40% over the last 5 years. And quite frankly, nothing other than the contract with the OCFA is going to deal with your ever-increasing pension liabilities. Only one organization has that ability, and that's the Orange County Fire Authority. There are 3 R's to decision-making, and I want you to think of this. This is the right time, it's the right decision, and it's for the right reason. It's bold, and you're going to be asked to be proactive in a historically reactionary city, and it will resonate throughout your constituency as being true leaders. All 7 of you were elected to make tough decisions, but this one sets the city on a solid foundation as it relates to fire and EMS services for the residents and visitors of this city. You know, when I started here as a fireman paramedic in 1991, we had a saying, and that saying was, we do more with less. Tonight, you're going to be able to make a decision that we can do more with more. This isn't an end of an era, folks. It's the beginning of a beautiful partnership between the City of Garden Grove and the premier fire agency in this county. At the end of the day, this will be a seamless, expeditious transition, and quite frankly, there will be little to no noticeable difference to your residents or visitors other than your response times will increase, and this agency can handle the call volume that we're seeing. At this point, I'm going to leave you with one simple thing. 250,000 to 350,000 over 10 years with a 5% contractual raise that still doesn't bring us to 5th in the county. I think the numbers speak clearly. It's time to contract with the Orange County Fire Authority and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
I agree with that we did spend a lot of time looking over these numbers, meetings, and lots of time spent. I was also part of that committee.
Yeah, I was going to note that Kim Nguyen was also a part of the subcommittee on that, yes.
And this is a historic decision, potentially for all of us, and one I don't think that any of us sitting up here takes lightly. I know for myself, my longevity in this community, my family's own personal history and longevity in this community. My grandfather was a volunteer fireman in this community. So to say that this has kept me up at night and I've exhausted hours of going over this backwards and forwards, and just when I think I got there, something else comes up, and so it's been a lot of work. I think what a lot of people at home can't see is the number of firemen that are here this evening, and I think that's something that has resonated with me. When the letter was given to us saying that 90% of our department wanted to go to the OCFA, I listened to that. I can't go and interview every single one of you in the fire stations and figure out exactly what you think and feel and, speak into the mic. I can't do that. But I have to take what I have in front of me. I have to take the information and the facts that I have gleaned, that I have asked for from the professionals, and I put it together and come up with a decision. So I want you to know that I listen to you, and I have respected and appreciate what you have said to us as council. I think some of the things that have stuck out to me through this, obviously the numbers are very important and we have gone over them and exhausted them, but response times and our ability as a city to hit that 6-minute mark, that's extremely important. And looking at that versus the OCFA model. Increases in call volumes to our city, that's not going to change, it's only going to increase. And because of that, we're a growing city and we're growing up. And as a District 5 council person, I look at the Harbor Corridor and I look at our hotels. I look at the future, more hotels to come, and we are responsible for those tourists. They are Garden Grove residents while they're here in our city staying at these hotels, and we have to protect them, and we have to give them the very best response that we can and protection while they're here. If we look at just how I think being a paramedic or a fireman has changed today and the culture of that in Orange County and in our nation, we ask a lot more of you than ever before with terrorism and active shooting and everything that goes on today. Your need for higher education and certs and different things, your training is constant. And I want to make sure that the residents, that you have the best training, because then that obviously goes down to the residents. If you look at pension obligations, we can't deny that. That's the elephant in the room. It's not going away. It's something we have to continue to look at. And then again, I come back to you as firemen. You have a passion for this. You did this because in your heart and soul you want to fight fire and you want to help people. And so when you tell me something and you bring something to me, I listen. And so that's just a brief summary of the importance of this, how seriously I take it. And I'd like to hear from my other colleagues, please.
I just have just a question to the subcommittee. So when you reviewed all the numbers and everything like that, I think one thing I haven't heard much about, and I brought it up early on, was the fees, the full cost recovery by the fire authority. Did you take into consideration that if they go over to the fire authority will charge businesses up to, for the fees and permits of all the inspections, which could equate to $750,000 a year. So mentioning that as a city, if we were to do the same thing, collect fees, full cost recovery, we as a city could retain $750,000 as a cost savings to the city. And instead of that, now we have a potential of fire authority gets that, they seek full cost recovery, they charge businesses $750,000 a year. And so did you study or review any of that at any time?
The challenge that we have, yes, we contemplate on that. We didn't go into the specific of in terms of how much we would save if we would be a full recovery model. The idea is that if we do it in-house, we believe that we would not be able to jump to a full recovery model because. Mainly, we have raised many fees recently. We raised the water rate. We have a 1 cent sales tax increase, and we have recently raised many other fees such as park use. And so now to hit our resident with a full recovery fee, I think that doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, yeah, that's one point of looking at it, but you're talking about either the city does it, or they absorb the cost, or the county does it, or the fire authority does it, and that's still a fee to the businesses, whoever does it.
There are many pieces that if you go all the way into it, it will become very complex. For example, if we do it in-house, then there's many other areas where we certainly would now have to jump into to consider. For example, the cost of hiring the fire chief. That certainly is a factor. And then if we really want to do it right, with the new chief, what cost would that be? If we remove the staff, right? Like you have heard that if this cost model doesn't factor in the costs for removing 2 or 3 staff. If we take into all of those things, then it become an outblown cost benefits analysis. And so I think with what we have here is we make some reasonable assumption where we think it is a good base for us to move forward.
Okay, so would you say a reasonable assumption would be the cost is going to increase for businesses $750,000 a year if it goes to the fire authority, otherwise we keep it in-house and we absorb that cost. So either way, that fee's going to go up for businesses if we use the Orange County Fire Authority. And related to the chief, a new chief, who will be head of, it would be a battalion chief in charge of the city, this jurisdiction? What's the level of the position that would oversee our jurisdiction for Garden Grove?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, our understanding is that if you were to transition to OCFA, that they would assign a division chief, I think is the right title.
Division chief, and that's
to be the representative to the city of Garden Grove, and then that person would probably have responsibility for 2 or 3 cities in the area that they would be responsible for, but I'll allow BC Phoenix to address that.
City Manager Stiles actually hit it pretty much on the head. It would be a division chief in charge of 4 cities, I believe, Seal Beach, Westminster, Garden Grove, and one other that I don't have on the top of my head right now, but you would have direct communication with the division chief.
Yeah, and with that, that's a higher level, upper management position.
Yes, he's part of
And
the
it's-
executive
it's not-
leadership
it's-
team.
Obviously, it's not the same as a fire chief in salary and benefits perhaps, but it's high up there, correct?
Yes, as I stated, he's
And that
part of the
pa-
executive team.
And that cost is inclusive of your proposal, and that's reflected there. It's not to say we're going to lose a fire chief, we're going to get an upper management position, and there's a cost associated with that. That's my point I wanted to make.
It is included in the contract
Mm-hmm.
price, and he would be your local fire chief. And you'd have
Yeah,
a
I just want to make my fellow councilmen aware, like, we're not losing a chief, we're getting another position to replace the chief at a lower salary, and I understand that, but it's not like it's a cost savings somewhat, but it's still, we're not losing a position in that situation.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, since you're up here, may I ask another question? So, I know the cities of Irvine, cities of Placentia are going through some negotiations with you right now related to that. And so I was just doing some research on that, and it said, and just reviewing the grand jury report related to Irvine pulling out. So if they represent 50% revenue of your income to the fire authority. They're the principal, main provider of revenue for the fire authority.
They are the largest member of the Orange County Fire Authority as far as finance.
If the city of Garden Grove were to be included in the fire authority, where would we rank as a city compared to the other cities? Would it be Irvine, Santa Ana? Would we be the third largest contributor to the fire authority?
I know you would be behind Irvine and Santa Ana. I don't know who is currently the third largest contributor to the Orange County Fire Authority, so I can't answer that right now. Lori, do you know?
Okay. But with that, well, how are things going with the city of Irvine? I mean, they've already declared they want to pull out or sent their notice to you that they're considering not continuing on with the fire authority?
They did. We're in current discussions with City of Irvine. They're going very well. So we're exchanging ideas for how we can resolve the concern. We're moving forward with certain items that they've already requested. Those
Okay.
are already been approved by the board moving forward. So we're optimistic to resolve it.
And it ultimately relates to a $20 million transfer or over, they consider themselves a donor type of?
Their property tax funding pays for fire
They're the
service. And in
SFF?
California, you have no control over
Correct.
Property tax, the revenue that flows to the different
Unlike
tax
Placentia,
entities.
which is a cash
They're a cash
city.
compact, right.
And they are looking into the cost increase and the impact on their budget. Went from 4 million to 6.6 million over a 10-year period. So is that a fair assessment?
If you take their base charge and increase it by the annual budgetary growth, it has been an average of the 2.92% we gave you. That's been the average increase.
Okay.
But when you grow that out and multiply it over the years.
So what would be the impact if Irvine does to the remaining cities that are part of the fire authority?
If we don't resolve the issues with
Yes.
Irvine, we will carry on as a strong fire service provider, and fire service will not be interrupted to our.
Fire
remaining
service won't
member
be
agencies.
interrupted, but there's a potential overhead charge, additional cost to the
Yeah.
remaining cities within the fire
Not to the
authority.
remaining cities, no. We've got plans already in our financial outlook for how we would reduce the overhead over a period of time. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not sending employees home. If that occurs, we will slowly reduce the overhead through attrition, and we've built up reserves to be able to weather that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and just make some comments of our thinking tonight. You know, tonight, we can maybe make a decision whether we're going to direct city manager to proceed in negotiations or whether we're going to not make a decision at all. But I know one thing for me, going through this whole process, which has been really since the beginning of the negotiations over a year ago when we did a one-year contract, there's no doubt in my mind, after seeing everything, all the numbers and dealing with everybody that we've dealt with, there's no doubt in my mind that the OCFA could provide a better service to our residents than we have right now, or that we could possibly even get to within the next 3 to 5 years, even if we put in additional money. So I'm a strong proponent of the fire authority contract and going that way. But that being said, I'm a lifelong Garden Grove guy, and I have ties to our local control and our local fire department. I don't necessarily like giving up any local control. But I know that in fairness to the numbers, you really have to look. We haven't negotiated very well with the fire department over the last 10 years, and they haven't really got base raises. And I see some very serious negotiating would have to happen, and some money would have to be put in. If we keep the Garden Grove Fire Department, we're going to have to put some, pony up and get some serious money in there. And then that's only a labor portion. And then if you add in the infrastructure costs that we would have to do to even get close to where the county is, you're talking the numbers that we're looking at right here that are pretty realistic. I like, if you look at the 3% growth, the sensitivity analysis at the 3% level. Sure, yeah, there's $4 million over 10 years, but with everything we've looked at, it's definitely a better quality of service that we could provide, and it could be immediate. No negotiations with immediate fire chief. It's going to be a change, and I would even warn the association and the Garden Grove firefighters. I appreciate everything they've done, but it may be a real change in the way we do business around here, because we still operate as a do more with less city, and we're kind of a small town operation. They do a great job. I just saw them on my street on Friday, helping out a neighbor. But things are going to change. You go to authority, a hired professional group that probably has a lot more restrictions than maybe we do about the way we do things, and all the firefighters and paramedics are going to have to keep up with those certifications and things. But we're going to be a more professional group if we go with the county. So that's my thinking right now. I was hoping coming in tonight is further discussion with our colleagues, going over all the numbers, really making the public aware over the last couple of months on where we've been. All along, we've been looking at this for over a year. If you really truly look at the numbers, if you look at what the authority has to offer, you can't deny that my end goal is what can I provide the best value for our residents on the fire service and for the money. And my main concern is for the residents for that time, the quality of time getting to their house. So that's where I'm at right now, but open to further discussion on what's going on.
Too hot.
Well, I just don't want to repeat too many things. All my colleagues list all the fact. And again, I totally go with quality of services. And, being Grove and Garden Grove, we want to see the better features and all the quality that we be able to meet 6 minutes or less on call time. At the same time, I like numbers, no doubt. I know we've been grinding all these numbers for the past months, and we all crossing our eyes and try to calculate. And my intention on this is we want to make sure that we be able to afford in the long run, not just 1 year, 2 year, 5 year down the line, but what happened after 10 years? Because the numbers end up at 10 years contract. What happened after that? And then I know you're going to answer what happened after 10 years. We just want to make sure that we be able to afford it, and we want to make sure that the resident deserve the best service overall. So as long as, we prove that we can be able to sustain it, let's look for it. But at this moment, I want to see a little more microscopic numbers, okay?
Please.
Councilwoman Tuhal, if you look at the cost assumptions, you'll see that they go, if you look at the cost assumptions, you'll see they go down every year, and they continue to go down years 10 through 20. So if you look, year 2021, it drops 2022, and it drops a few thousand each year, and it continues that trend year 20 to 10 to 20. Does that make sense? So you're asking for numbers of 10 to 20 years, they continue to drop. And you're going to get to a point when then OCFA now becomes even more cost effective. The numbers go the other direction.
Yeah, but the contract is 10 years.
I understand,
So
but my
after
point
that-
is if you pencil it out further, it's going to continue to drop. And I think the one other thing that should be noted is, because you made a comment about Irvine, our fees are capped, correct, Chief Zeller? If Irvine was to pull out, that doesn't change what we pay. They don't make that money up on the city of Garden Grove, correct? Our fees stay the same, 2.92 to 4.5 max. Okay, so that's an important thing to note.
Okay.
With regard to your concern, Councilman Tu, I think your concern is really valid, and it's really good. But in the past 2 months, we bang on that issue, and we left every stone unturned. I have asked the city manager as well as other finance manager a very, very tough and challenging question, and that is, how can we estimate whether the cost will be, whether it will be 10 or 15 years from now? If it's go up, I'm sure it will go up, but why is it going up? And is it going up at the rate slower than if we do it in-house? The answer that I got from, from everyone is, it is so difficult to answer my question, and I keep banging and banging and banging, and no one would want to give me an estimate, or no one would want to give me an answer. Let me put it this way. If we do it in-house, we know for sure our city will face a tremendous issue in terms of CalPERS, unfunded liability for pension. Yes. That will go up at a rate higher than we might anticipate it. But no one can put a number to it. If we move to OCFA, that number will be capped, and it will going down as years going by, because we are not be liable for the years moving forward. We're only liable for the present and going backward. And so there is a delicate balance in terms of how do we estimate where the costs will be. Obviously, there will be some other costs in terms of inflation, in terms of other things that OCFA, if they hit with delivering the service that we wanted, if it costs them more, then they will, after 10 years, they will charge us more for delivering that services, because they are a cost recurrent operation. So it is difficult, but I think one thing that we know for sure is the cost for pension liability will go down as we move forward if we move to OCFA.
Kim.
So this has been an extremely long process. We've been in meetings and meetings and meetings and have seen maybe 10 versions of numbers that we all thought were going to go in one direction, and then were thrown way off course by getting a different set of numbers. And I'm definitely treading on the line. OCFA, GG Fire, where I will go, I'm still TBD for me. I'm not convinced that it's a true cost savings for us to go to OCFA. Is it better quality service? Yes. Is it better infrastructure, better organization, all of those things? Yes. But I'm not convinced that if we didn't dedicate the money, the time and the attention to our own fire department, where we have all acknowledged that there has been a lack thereof, that we could not move that dial in a better direction for our own fire department. And the other thing that's really important that we have to really take into consideration is the fact that we just asked our residents to pay an increase in taxes to help us, because we apparently don't have the money, but now we're going to go and purchase something more expensive than we have the money for. That money has not yet been received by the city. We won't have it until, or it won't even be implemented until, April 2019. So you don't shop for things you can't afford. This isn't layaway. You don't do that, right? Not to say that we won't go to OCFA, right? This proposal is valid until June 2019, correct? So at that point in time, if, this decision doesn't have to happen right now. I understand that most everyone wants it to happen right now so that we can get the ball rolling in one direction, but I'm not going to be rushed in making a decision when I'm still not sure which way it should go. Am I open to hearing what that negotiation process and contract will look like? Sure. Does that mean that's a definite we're going? No. We've had several meetings where I've asked the chief, talked to Ann and staff, where we've asked them, what could we do to get us to a place in which we perhaps match OCFA in quality and or provide a different level of service that's high quality? The answer has been yes, we can do it. It's going to take time, it's going to take money. With all things, the changes that we go through with OCFA are not going to happen overnight. Or are they going to happen overnight?
If you have a specific question as to what would and would not happen overnight, I'd be able to answer that a little more clearly.
So, can you give me like a brief idea of what will happen in the first 6 months if we were to go to OCFA? If we were to vote yes?
The transition of personnel and equipment and deployment model would happen on the date of service, the date that we started service with you. And we'd start responding as Orange County Fire Authority as we provided in the contract or in the proposal.
How soon after a council votes to move forward, like we say, usually where is the start date of service?
We are, right now, we would be proposing at after a contract was completed, 120-day transition is what we are looking at.
Okay.
The actual contract negotiation, I would estimate, 2 months. There's a lot of details to get worked out, so maybe the January timeframe, we're back with a contract that both sides feel comfortable with, and then we work through the transition, work with you on the date that you're looking for. But the increase in level of service is on day one that we start the contract with you.
And infrastructure changes, those were going to be postponed out for a year.
Some of the startup cost things that we identified in the proposal, all of those elements we'll start on immediately. And then you don't pay for those immediately, you pay for those over a 10-year window of time. But those will start to happen right away. Yeah.
I'm done for now.
If I look at the number as is breaking down by our finance department, the very first year we have a saving of about a couple $1 million. Is that right? 1.5 to 2 million, depending on what scenario we are looking at.
Yes.
The first page is about 1.6 mil, and then if we factoring in the sensitivity analysis, which means if we compare that to staying in-house with some nominal increase to the firefighters' salaries, it could go as high as $2.5 million saving in the first years alone. So the very first year we are saving money, Councilman Kim Nguyen, and then the following years, depending on what scenario we are looking at, that whether we have a cost of $1 million plus, or we are having a cost of some little change. Okay. Now, I believe that having been with the industry and seeing what happened to Sears, to other department change, the bigger you are, the more cost saving you would have. So touring the OCFA facility and seeing how their repair and their inventory is in terms of stocking the parts for their fleet, and talking to our own repair shop, we know that, and that is something that we haven't really looked into it. The cost for us to inventory our parts for repair is a lot higher than the equivalent cost for OCFA to stock those parts for repairing. So I believe overall it will be. There are some other intangible benefit as well as tangible benefit that we haven't jumped into to deal with.
Quickly, if I can, I want to be mindful and careful. I'm all for fact-finding missions. I'm all for making sure we're drilling down and getting all the information. But I think at some point we're going to reach a threshold where we probably have what we have, And if we continue to fight and scrape for more, we're not going to be able to keep our head above water because we're not going to remember what happened 6 months ago with that information and where we are today. And so I want to be mindful of that as we continue this I need more information discussion, that at some point there probably is going to reach a cap to that, because I think you could go on forever at some point.
Can I add a comment to that? Yeah, it's the fish or cut bait scenario, but what it comes down to, I think the chorus is, we need to improve our fire service, we need to improve our response time. That's going to involve a cost. The element is what cost and what's the time factor. Now, if we stay internal, we could do upgrades and follow the model of OC Fire Authority, we could get there. And the question is, how soon can we get there? The question is, how much is it going to cost? And obviously, if we go to OC Fire Authority, we have a ready-to-go operation, but it's going to cost more money. The question is, how much money is it going to cost? And the question ranges, we get to a big discrepancy between $8 million and one sensitivity with 1%. What numbers you plug in, just $356,000 over 10 years. So you decide what numbers you want to put in to support what model you want to use. Staying with internally with the Garden Grove Fire Authority, or going with OCFA. What the certainty is, you can predict the future. The best way to predict the future is to control it. We have control over the fire department right now. So we could decide, we could work that in. I also want to mention Councilwoman Nguyen talked about the increase of the 1 cent sales tax. Yeah, that increase is coming. It'll take time to come into effect. But also, too, we are destined, and I hate to be the doomsayer here, but we are destined for a recession sometime, and that money may not grow to where we think it's going to grow. So in every analysis, in every line item we've seen, there's been it's been a question what the significant cost savings would be to the city, and I've seen no line that says there's been any cost savings. It's a little bit more, a lot more, and that's what we've seen so far in the analysis. So getting to your point, we could go over numbers back and forth, but we have to decide. I think we have decided we want to move forward with improving the delivery, the level of service. The question is, who's going to have control over doing that, and what are the finances going to look down in the future? So if we go for this OC Fire Authority proposal now, we are at a risk, because if 4.5% over 10 years, if you compound that, that's 45%. And that's what happened to Placentia, and that's why we're looking at. And they had hit difficult times at 2008. We could hit those times in 2020. So that's the big changeover for a lot of what's going on with Fire Authority and their timing and everything like that. So I'm conservative. I want to take less risk, and I think we have what we have in hand, and we can improve that. That's one direction we could take, and I feel more assured. Or else we can debate or discuss and talk about the what's going to save us more money. But so far, we haven't saved any money at looking at OC Fire Authority.
Well, I have a very opposite view, Councilman Beard. I think it is, you are right on the fact that we do not want risk. But I believe that staying in-house is a lot more risk for us, because it's clearly in the finance that are submitted by the finance department. We save $1.5 million to $2.5 million in the very first years alone. Secondly, we know that if we stay in-house, we are going to have to give a raise to firefighters, and that is right there. Is instead of a saving, we have a major cost increase right off the bat. They have been working with our contract for months, and so I think the risk is right here. Secondly, if we move to OCFA, the cost is fixed with only 2.9 to 4.5% increase cap for the next 10 years. So I think we are safer in terms of risk if you look at that view. Furthermore than that, having seen quite a few friends and close relatives having a stroke, and some of them die because even though a couple incidents, our firefighter was able to get to their office or their house within 4 minutes, they still could not make it and pass away. I think, and also I talked to another gentleman that come to the neighborhood association meeting with the firefighter association last night. He mentioned that 5 days earlier, he had a stroke. And luckily, our firefighter rushed there in time for him. And it's only then that he realized how precious those moments would be. Many of us taking the air that we breathe every second for granted until we are stranded by our throat, and then we realize how precious that air would be. So I think it is with the aging population, I think it's very important for us to make sure that our aging resident, have the response, has the services that they need. I certainly do not want to be the next person who have a stroke, and our firefighter couldn't rush there in time.
I just want to clarify. So on the sheet that you provided to us, year one, we have a savings of 1.7 mil-ish, right? But the next year, is that a cost savings or is that a loss?
The first year, fiscal year 18-19 would be a cost savings. And that's because if we go to OCFA, we've built up we've saved up some money to replace our vehicles. And the theory being, if we go to OCFA, we wouldn't have to replace those vehicles. So we would free up that cash out of the fleet management fund. So that's about $2.5 million. And then in addition, if we sell off some of the equipment that we currently have, because we wouldn't need it, we would be able to potentially gain $190,000. And so that's one time in the first year. And then every subsequent year, it would be an additional cost.
I just wanted to clarify that because I got a little confused. People were saying we were seeing a savings every year, which we're not. It's a cost. For clarification for folks who can't see the Excel spreadsheet on the screen.
Eric, you want to come back up, please?
Yeah, I just want to address a couple things. I think what I need to make clear is what this group is asking, and quite frankly, you have to make a decision tonight. It's been too long. We're asking you to vote to begin the negotiations with the Orange County Fire Authority. Now, that's a 2-month period where things are going to be worked out. You're not committing to the OCFA tonight. You're committing to having your city manager, fire management, fire labor, meet with OCFA, and let's start working this out. We have gone too long. All we're going to do by going back and forth is rehashing the same things. The bottom line is this. Your fire service is going up. Mr. Beard, our fire budget goes up over 4% a year. Just so you know, every budget goes up. The city of Placentia, they were only raising them 2% a year. OCFA is actually spending more money on Placentia than they're paying for services. Am I correct when I say that, Chief Zeller? Yes, she's saying yes, I am correct. Okay, so there's an inherent problem there. Folks, this group behind you is loyal, but we're tired. It's been a year and a half. Let's make a decision tonight. Let's move forward. Let's negotiate the contract. You'll get to see it before you sign it. Let's move this ball forward, or quite frankly, vote no, and then let's deal with that. But we cannot go back to work tomorrow asking Chief Schultz to keep running a department that's quite frankly falling apart. Tonight is the night. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say real quick, first of all, we don't have to do anything. We can and we should and we probably will, but clarify word choice. Number two, Scott, is it possible for us to direct you to enter into the negotiations with OCFA, but on that same token, look into what if we stay? The changes that need to happen moving forward if in 2 months we still don't like what we're getting and we decide no. Because in 2 months, we could essentially say no, right? We don't have to say yes?
Yes, Councilmember, I would say, yeah, I was glad when District Chief Zeller said it might be a couple months to do that, because this would be it'd be fairly complex, what I would anticipate doing, not having gone through this. Certainly have a lot of conversations with OCFA. I would expect them to have some sort of boilerplate contract that we would start from. Certainly, our city attorney would have a lot of input into it, just from a legal standpoint. Obviously, we'd want to look at everything to, number one, protect the city of Garden Grove, which is most important. I would anticipate having conversations with the Fire Association, because even though they might want to go, they're also going to be interested in terms and conditions that would benefit them going forward, such as what are their leave balances that would transfer to the OCFA? Is everybody going over at rank? All of those sort of things. And quite frankly, some of those things, when you're looking at transferring balances, can be beneficial or detrimental to the city as well. Because, the city might say, well, we want to pay them all off and start clean and move on. And some of the association members might want to say, well, wait a minute, we want to take a little bit of time with us, so help us negotiate that. So when we transfer over, we can take a day off here or there when we get there. So, things like that, I think, were going to be really important, talking about the capital improvement program, how that works, how we can have some protection going forward, that we're not going to be caught in a situation with a lot of unexpected costs that we're not aware of. So it would take a little bit of time, and way back when they gave us their proposal and they said it was good until July 1st, I said, well, it's certainly not going to take that long. But I'm looking at it now, I'm kind of glad that you gave us until July 1st. To the second part of your question, so to the first part, yes, we can move forward in that regard if that's the wishes of council. And I would expect to start having conversations. I mentioned OCFA, I mentioned the Fire Association. You've got a Fire Management Association has some interests that we need to have some conversations about, and I would want to get their input about how we should be looking after them. And finally, I would mention there's at least, I think, about 4 non-represented employees in the fire department. You've got a couple of fire inspection employees. You've got a clerical administrative assistant, got a financial person. They're understandably nervous about their future, their jobs. Do they want to go to OCFA? Do they want to stay with the city? I think what OCFA has said is that if they have positions available, that they are more than likely to want to include them in the position. If they don't have positions available, then what happens to them? Are we telling them are we putting them out on the street? Are we saying, no, we're going to find a job for you in the city, and then if we make that decision, that's a cost, one of those unforeseen costs that, you're trying to figure out, what's the cost of a chief? What's to find a chief? What's the cost to keep some people in the system when you weren't planning to do that? So there's all those sort of things that I think we need to think about, and that would all go into the negotiations. So I think Assistant Chief Zeller is exactly right. It's going to take us a little bit of time to bring something back to you that you can really, understand. Councilman Beard talked about fees and that sort of thing. So that's in the, how do we understand that that's in the proposal? A lot of you have talked about the 6-minute mark. So I would assume we'd want to have some conversations about how do we ensure for our citizens, since we're talking a lot about trying to deliver good service, how do we make sure that we can hit those over the 10-year period? And what happens if they can't do that? So, those are, there's a whole litany of issues that I think we would really have to pay attention to. Not to drag on, but on the second part of your question, I think the council has 2 or 3 things you could think about. One is, obviously, you could direct the manager to move forward with beginning negotiations with the fire authority. I think your question had to do with, can we, at the same time, look at what it would take to reinvest some of this money into our own fire department? Certainly we can do that as well. I know we talked about it being a 6-month process to kind of move things along. And it would take a little bit of time, but you've got a city administration. If you said, keep it in-house, in 6 months, we would plow ahead. We'd hire a new chief. We'd conclude labor negotiations. We'd try to figure out how to get our fire department to a very competitive place, which is what I've told our fire association publicly. That is a place that I want to get them to. Measure O gives us a little bit of flexibility on that, not just from a financing, a labor cost standpoint, construction, all of that sort of stuff. So we're here, we're available to move forward on any sort of direction that you have, and whatever direction you choose to take is one that I think we can accomplish for you.
Thank you, Scott. I just want to reiterate, I don't think any of us on this dais will disagree with the fact that fire service has to change, right? I think we all understand that the quality of service that we're providing is not where it needs to be and it needs to change. We're just stuck on who's going to change it. Is it going to be through OCFA or is it going to be in-house? And I'd really like to see that happen simultaneously. In the event that we don't go with OCFA, we have a contingency plan ready to go to shuffle in just in case. And I think you can do that simultaneously as you're working with them. You can make your notes and revise plans that the chief has already created in the past, change things here and there, and just have that ready to go as a contingency plan, working on that simultaneously. And I think that's where I'm at with it, colleagues.
I think that's always prudent.
Yeah.
I think it's very
Are
prudent.
we kind of already, were we already kind of trying to do that, though, when we came up with those assumptions? We started looking at, okay, we'd have to bring up so many firemen to this level of paramedic, and we'd have to hire the EOC part-time corps. I feel like we were already starting getting that ball rolling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we did go into negotiations, if there'd be a way to maybe continue the committee, maybe look at other things, keep just for the sake of transparency and keeping a conversation and a communication line open. Maybe that's something that could continue as well. But I do feel like we've already started that process of looking at what it would take to get our fire department as it stands now to some sort of OCFA standard or level, whatever that means.
Let me ask you this, Scott. Assuming that that this council would like to consider both options moving forward, one option would be to start negotiating with OCFA, and the other option is to look at what does it take to do it in-house. What is a challenge that we face? I can see of quite a few things. Number one, we got to hire a new chief immediately, because the chief already said that he's going to retire. In fact, he already submit his retirement, and we can only hire him, even if we have the money to pay him, but the law mandate that we can only continue his services as a consultant for how long. And right now, I know he agreed to stay until the end of December. Is that right?
We've said that, but but his real as I understand CalPERS rules, his real limit is a number of hours per year, which is like 960 hours. So we have to make sure he doesn't work more than 960 hours.
And I don't know what that
And that's
means.
very important to me.
You're right. I don't want to do the math right here.
Yeah.
But we need a fire chief full-time. We cannot just have him working part-time. He have a big department to run. Secondly, so that's the number one. The number two is we do not have a contract with our firefighter, and they've been working without a contract. I think that it doesn't make any sense to continue working without a contract with them, and I don't know where they stand on that. I don't want to speak for them. Secondly, is every time it comes to renew the contract, it's been a tremendous burden on HR and on city management. And so that's another huge undertaking that if we want to consider both options, we better be prepared to deal with that. And we have a lot more to work on. The Measure O passed, we need to focus on prioritize the, where we are moving forward. So I don't know, you might be sitting here and think that maybe it's prudent for us to consider this, consider that, consider a zillion of things. But I think we are responsible for making sure that we prioritize the task, which one is more important. I would say that we need to focus mainly on the negotiation with OCFA, and unless we hit a roadblock, then we shouldn't look at many other options, because I think that might not be the prudent thing to do.
Kim, if I could, go ahead.
Just really quick, I want to clarify what I'm asking for. So, to kind of bring this full picture, I haven't been satisfied from jump with how we've had our negotiations or our conversations between City Hall and the fire department. Divisive on both ends. Lack of communication, beating around the bush, you name it, whatever. It's happened on both ends. Where I think we should have had conversations with the Fire Association to ask them, what would it take to keep you here? What do you need? What do you want? I think they've expressed it in some details here and there, but I've heard that there hasn't been a follow-up to that to be like, okay, if we don't go OCFA, the conversations haven't happened, period. And that should have happened alongside, simultaneously, as we've been looking at OCFA, and it hasn't happened. So what I'm asking for is, I'm willing to move forward with having the conversations and working through negotiations with OCFA, so long as we also simultaneously have discussions with our fire association to figure out what's missing, what needs to be done, what can we do. I think we've had some preliminary suggestions, moving them to the middle, doing this, doing that, but I don't think we've taken it very seriously and sat down and had those conversations and had better negotiations with them. I think it's been very hostile and divisive. And on their end, they have information that they don't share with us. We have information that they get that they don't like, and then they change the numbers or figure it out and then don't give it to us until we get it surprised later, when I distinctly asked them, work together. If Newport Beach wasn't included, you created it yourself. Why didn't you just tell Ann Newport Beach wasn't there, add it in? You can come up.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Could I first chime in on a couple things? First, so just to follow up on this question, I just don't, Eric, want to lose my train of thought, because I lose my train of thought pretty easily. So as we're talking about trying to do things simultaneously, and I think you might have indicated that, what would be the challenges of that, difficulties of it? I think part of it is that we're in limbo right now. And for example, Councilman Bowie's correct. I mean, if OCFA wasn't in the picture and we were starting right now to go right into what we need to do to rebuild our department, number one, so that over the next couple months, presumably, I would be talking to OCFA about what a contract would look like. So that's a couple months. If we weren't in those 2 months of discussions, the HR department would get out our announcement tomorrow for a new fire chief, and we would start that process to get that happening. We'd start labor negotiations tomorrow with the Fire Association. And I don't know, maybe the Fire Association has a different opinion. I don't think we have hostile relations. Personally think I have really good relations with the Fire Association, and they've been really upfront and honest with me, and I feel like we have really good conversations. I think what's been difficult for them is, as we're trying to kind of work through this, they've kind of understandably had some stops and goes, looking at Measure Road or not. And, at one point, we spoke a couple weeks ago, and I don't think they were ready to. At one point, they gave us a letter and wanted to start negotiations, but then I think, maybe understandably, they wanted to kind of wait and take a pause on things for a while. So, but for OCFA, you'd start labor negotiations right away, and you'd get something that obviously I think all sides would want to come up with. That's something that everybody feels good about, gets them to that position that they think they should be at, that we feel good about. you'd start hiring under the Chief Schultz's model. You'd recruiting for paramedics tomorrow. You'd start getting that out to try and hire people. We've got a couple vacancies. I think we've got a vacant battalion chief position. We'd fill that tomorrow. We'd start, populating our ranks and getting the department up to that position that we think that it should be at. So those are all things that we could start doing tomorrow, but I'm not sure it would be the right thing to start doing tomorrow if we know we're in 2 months of negotiations with OCFA. Now, at any point, the Fire Association can come to me and say, Scott, let's restart negotiations. Let's start talking. What would you put on the table that would make us feel better? And we could be in a position to do that if they requested that. So that can all happen, but the issue, we're kind of in this limbo stage where a lot of these things, I think, some of these things are difficult to happen if we know we're in a sort of a 2-month negotiation period on OCFA stuff.
Yeah, I just don't see how we can at this 23rd hours, still decide whether we should turn left, turn right, go straight. The time for those kind of things is long gone. We need to make a decision. Either we go forward and use it with OCFA or say, this is done. Let's forget it. Let's just do it in-house. We cannot just sit in here and figure out what is the best thing for us. We've been sitting at this for, at least for within the city council, we're debating this for over at least 6-7 months already. We cannot just sit in here and wondering what if this, what if that. We can't. Sometimes we have to be, I know a lot of time we don't have every single fact that we would like to have, to make a decision, but sometimes we have to have a ball and make the decision, realize that perhaps we might make a mistake. But we have to make the best decision we can given the scenario, because you heard the city manager, we're in the limbo right now.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a quick comment?
Please.
So anyways, I'd like to
Comment
make
to
just a
somebody.
couple comments. I've kind of been silent on it as the fire chief, and I think it's relevant for me to make a couple comments. And my comments come from a person that has nothing to gain. In other words, I don't have personal interest to gain anything, whether we go or whether we stay. So I'm giving these comments based on how I feel, my obligation to the community and the obligation to the organization. So with that in mind, some background and some history is back in 2015, a lot of these problems were originally starting to be addressed. When I first came here as fire chief, we did a 60-day report, and it noted our not having adequate, at least PAUs in the city. In 2016, a comprehensive report was submitted that recommended what the fire service should look like in Garden Grove. And now in 2018, you've seen the OCFA model, which is a variant to the deployment, but it pretty much is accomplishing a very similar thing. And from the very beginning, there's been 3 issues that have been plaguing the fire department here in Garden Grove. And the number one is our response times. Based on the model of us not having 2 paramedics at every fire station, we have that delayed response time. No matter how we get there, whether OCFA is the model, whether we do it internally, that needs to be fixed to properly serve the citizens. As your fire chief, I'm telling you, that should be fixed. Second is retention and recruitment. For the guys out there that work hard every day, they're the lowest paid at entry. That's not appropriate. And they're sub 5 when we talk about once you're in the ranks and you've been there a while. I'm the 5th highest paid fire chief in Orange County. I'm paid properly. These guys should be paid properly. So with that in mind, that should be somehow managed. And it didn't happen overnight. It's not you at the dais. This happened over 20 years. It took a while to get there, but it does need to be resolved. And then lastly, and this is something I've been saying for 4 years now, is that the infrastructure. There's some significant issues at infrastructure that OCFA is not going to fix. We would have to fix it internally whether we stay or go, and there has to be funds and a dedication to fixing the facilities. Fire stations need to be repaired, replaced in many cases, along with your police department and all that other stuff. So there's some big things that need to happen, and these didn't happen overnight, but they're real issues that are facing the community and in turn your fire services. So I've heard many people say up here that this thing's been going on for a year, and it's been going on, in my opinion, for 4 years since I've been here, really trying to fight to get things in a better place. But we have been in a state of limbo. When we originally moved into that contract negotiations or the FSP process, we all agreed not to promote anybody, hire anybody, and we kind of put this self-imposed lockdown on ourselves. And as a result of that, you're minus a fire chief. And I'm happy to serve, and I'm honored to serve in this capacity as long as I can. You're down a battalion chief. You're down 4 captains, 4 engineers, and several firefighters. That is not healthy for an organization. The firefighters out there are stepping up, and they're working, and they're putting in the extra hours away from their family and all that, but that is not healthy for an organization for people to work so much. So, you know, some sort of decision needs to be made so that if we do stay, we get back to a degree of normalcy, or we move to something else. This is not a healthy stasis, if you will. This is not where an organization should be. The uncertainty is not healthy. So, you know, those are my main thoughts. But I do want to leave you with one last thought, and it's about the professionalism of the Garden Grove Fire Department. And I'm just going to say that this is a highly professional fire department. I've been in the service for 34 years now. Our firefighters, our captains, our chiefs, they're all on statewide incident command teams. They're all, you know, very good paramedics. We have the best firefighters in Orange County. I mean, you can almost ask anybody, at least ask me, I'll tell you we're the best in Orange County. It doesn't mean OCFA is not great, but I'm just saying I'm not going to take anything away from the Garden Grove Fire Department. And that goes for all the firefighters that came before, our brothers that we put in the ground. They've all done a darn good job, an honorable job, and we've always been a professional fire department. We've always served this community with pride. So I wanted to leave you with those final thoughts. As always, I'm more than happy to answer any questions, but we do need to move forward and get out of this stasis, if we will, and move to a better service delivery. However you decide as a policymaker to do it, we need to go to a different place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to say a few words. So for starters, I would wholeheartedly concur with that, and it's been said by different people in different ways that we do need to move forward, make a decision. I've heard this from people on both sides of the trade of stay or go or whatever, is just we need to know what our future holds and where we're headed. So I don't see any reason to delay this any further personally. I think the big natural reason to delay it was we just had an election cycle, we had a measure, we had all that kind of stuff. That was the single biggest elephant in the room, I think, that affects this, that we now have clarity on. So with Measure O being passed by the voters, the charter is to spend more money on public safety, to beef up public safety, and a big part of that is our fire department. So whether we stay or go, we're going to spend a lot more next year on fire than we did last year, simply because of the measure. For me, this process has been very, very exhaustive. I put countless hours into this personally. As Stephanie said, I can relate to this. Sleepless nights, just a lot of just a whole lot of angst over this particular item. To me, there's 3 high-level variables involved in this decision. One, first and foremost, is the quality of service that we provide for our residents, or quality of fire service and response times and all those sort of things. Second is the cost, right? So it's, you know, trying to provide the maximum quality service at the minimum cost to the residents. The third is this just sort of non-quantitative and non-qualitative factor of the nostalgia bit, call it. The fact that we've had our own department and we would be outsourcing our department that we've had for 92 years. I think I want to address that piece first and then get into the heart of the kind of quality and cost analysis from my perspective. I'm surprised how few people I've heard from about the nostalgia bit. I've heard from a handful of people very passionately about it, but I haven't heard from very many people, and I've reached out, and I've done my best to kind of make myself available and get out there and feel it out. So I know the people who do feel like that feel very strongly about keeping the department just for the sake of the nostalgia bit. My personal opinion is there was a day and age when we kind of had a Mayberry feel, and we had, you know, volunteer firefighter type of, you know, mindset, and our firefighters actually lived in the city and were kind of more engaged in the community and stuff. And I think over time we've become a bigger city and just things have changed. So to me, I think that nostalgia ship to some extent has already sailed. So if we were to keep the department internally and spend money beefing it up and building up our own department, I don't know that we would ever get our Mayberry sort of volunteer firefighter field back anyways. I kind of think that's gone. So to me, it comes down to kind of a more pragmatic approach of quality of service and cost to the residents. From what I've seen, heard, I mean, tours of our own infrastructure, tours of OCFA, hands down, OCFA is a very class act. They've got a well-oiled machine. There's something about this regional approach, especially in the world today where, I forget the terminology, but what you see is anytime there's an incident, there's cross-collaboration between all the different agencies, fire agencies. What's that?
Mutual aid.
What's that?
Mutual aid.
Mutual aid, that's it. Yeah. It's all about mutual aid these days. And I mean, I don't know how you keep track of the debits and credits, but basically all the different agencies help each other. Our guys are up, north fighting fires completely out of the county and whatnot, very regularly. I think fire is taking, like it or not, the future of fire is probably a more regionalized approach than a local approach. So I think that's a trend that's sort of bigger than us here in a city. But I'm just profoundly impressed with what I see as the ability to deliver service across a regional approach, to have a full-on fire investigations unit that can respond to fires instead of one guy or a half a guy or a guy who's getting a bonus to go kind of, stay up late and investigate fires all by himself. Or it's an organized effort, departmentalized on a regional basis to be able to kind of handle regional needs as they arise. And just the logistics of moving vehicles and paramedics and firefighters across the grid on kind of a more regional approach. So there's something that just naturally seems to make more sense from a quality and a response time approach from a regional level. So then it comes down to cost, and my gosh, that has been a roller coaster back and forth of like, we're gonna save 2.5 million, we're gonna cost 1.6 million, we're gonna save, and when you get down in the weeds of it. But we've done that. It's been a very exhausting process. I'm now fluent in it to the point where I'd say, yeah, there's still minutia that we could dig into. There's still sensitivity analysis variables that we could debate so we could do more spreadsheets, but from a high-level standpoint, it seems like kind of a wash to me from a cost standpoint. If we were to stay in-house, and there was this whole concept, and I credit FAT for this, about apples to apples. To me, what that meant was, if we were to stay in-house, how would we try to mirror the level of service that could be provided by going to OCFA, which was clearly better than what we're currently providing now. And I caveat that with saying, I think our guys do an excellent job of doing a lot with what they have, but they've got old tired equipment, they've got old tired stations, they're undermanned, they're they do a heck of a job man for man compared to any other agency out there. But they're scrapping to keep it all together, and the city's growing rapidly. We've got less sworn firefighters now than we did, 20 years ago, and the population of the city has skyrocketed. We've got high-rise hotels under construction. It's not getting more under control anytime soon. So if we stay, we need to beef up dramatically. If we beef up dramatically, I still don't think we could equate to what the regional approach could provide in terms of quality of service. I think we could kid ourselves that we would approximate it or we would get close, but so the economic analysis on this apples to apples was to say, what would we need to do? What would we need to fix? What trucks would we need to buy? What full-time positions, fire investigator, a second mechanic, all these things that were discussed, and sort of haggled out by consensus. And variable by variable, these things were incorporated into a spreadsheet, which now, on the end go, comes down to $27,000 a year over on a $26 million budget. That's minuscule in terms of percentage. That's our break-even point, is that over 10 years, $272,000 or whatever, comes out to $27,000 a year. That's the break-even point. And that, from what we heard, still doesn't even get us ranked 5th in the county, which is where the guys want to be. We just had a measure pass. The expectation by the people is that we're going to solidify our department. We're going to make it more attractive for people, for new hires, for recruitment, for retention, for all these variables we discussed. We need to improve response times, we need to improve the equipment, we need to improve the stations, all these sort of things. So we can either go through this exhaustive undertaking internally, and it's going to cost the same or more, or we can send it off to OCFA and sort of plug and play right into it. So I'm convinced that I've gotten all the information I need to move forward. I certainly think I would concur with Councilmember Kim Nguyen that it's always prudent to pursue these things with parallel paths. As we head into, assuming if we did, head into a negotiation with OCFA, I want to be incredibly sensitive that nobody gets swept under the bus on this thing, right? So non-sworn personnel, mechanics, other people in peripheral departments that somehow have part of their livelihoods off of the fire being in-house. We need to figure out how to detangle those things. I want to be very conscientious about people's families, people's livelihoods, and making sure they have a safety net here at the city if, for whatever reason, they're not picked up or doesn't make sense for them to go. So I want to be conscientious about that as part of our negotiation. There's a lot of other variables like that will come out during the negotiation process. So yes, there's a possibility we could be a couple, 3 months into this and hit an impasse and not go. So it's always prudent to have a backup plan, I think, a contingency plan. So I would wholeheartedly concur with Councilmember Kim Nguyen on that we need to kind of keep options open. The difficulty is if we were making a decision to go in-house, that means we're opening up labor negotiations. We're hiring a fire chief. We're doing a lot of, we're looking at infrastructure improvements, deferred maintenance on our stations and equipment and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into that. I think those variables have been covered in the spreadsheets, to Stephanie's point. I think all those things have been contemplated of if we were to stay, these are the things we would need to do. So I think we've got that kind of roughly in place anyways, but by all means, that's something that needs to be, we don't let that go until we've got an actual contract signed. But my preference would be to take action on this tonight, and my motion would be to direct the city manager to begin negotiations with OCFA.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or call to vote? Call to vote.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuha Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beard?
No.
And Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion received, 6 yes votes, with Mayor Pro Tem Beard voting no.
All righty. Thank you. Okay, we are on matters, so let's go around the horn. Any other matters from council members?
Yeah, I want to wish Councilman O'Neill a happy birthday again. And I want to congratulate all those who got elected to office, re-elected to Councilwoman Nguyen, re-elected to Councilman Bowie, and the mayor especially. And then, and I want to also commend those who ran for office, the candidates. It was a noble effort. I commend them for moving, going forward, to step into the arena, as they say. So also, too, we just experienced Veterans Day. I want to wish and hope all the servicemen active or have served as veterans. I hope they had a wonderful day. They deserve it. And finally, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving next week. That's it.
Thank you for the birthday wishes. I'm blessed to be here in Garden Grove, and I have a wonderful family that has been great, and I really appreciate that. I wanted to say I was out at the Orange County Fairgrounds on Saturday for Veterans Day, supporting our veterans and labor out there. And my heart and thoughts are with, everything that's going on in the country, with, especially here in California, the fires that we've had and the loss of life, and then the shootings that we've had and loss of life. It's just heart-wrenching to consider all that, but my heart is with those people.
Well, happy birthday to Councilman John O'Neill. Congratulations to Mayor Steve Jones and Councilman Fat Bui for get reelected. Also, want to say thank you to everybody. And of course, I want to concur with Councilman Chris Spear. Everyone who stepped into the ring, carry on, take a lot of responsibility, and we're no different. So we want to make the right decisions for a long run. So once again, thank you.
Happy birthday, John. Congratulations, Councilmember Tu Han Nguyen, Mayor Steve Jones, and to Councilman Fat Bui. Same sentiments regarding Veterans Day, seeing everything that's going on in the nation and the country, it happened so close, and we quickly forget about the mass shooting because we have these fires. You don't even have time to process one thing from the next. So, just keeping all of them in our thoughts and prayers, and praying that things change so that things like this don't happen anymore. Also, thank you to all the firefighters who are here, who have been going through this process with us for the last 6 months. I'm sure many of you will go home happy and sleep very well tonight. And, thank you for all that you do for our city. It's not great to have to do what you can with so little. This process was very difficult, and I hope you understand that it's about you, but it's also about all the other moving components and our responsibility to our residents financially, and also for the service that you provide to them, and wanting to know all the different options that we have before we make a decision that's going to be a 10-year commitment that we can't get out of. So with that, I just want to thank you all for your service and the time that you spend coming here and talking to me, the ones who have reached out to me personally, who helped me through some of the questions that I've had. Just, again, thank you.
Happy birthday, Councilmember O'Neill, and congratulations to my colleagues on your campaign success. And today was actually exciting. When I was coming over for agenda review, I saw a giant crane and shipping containers flying through the sky at Steelcraft today, and that just warmed my heart. And it was great to know that there's such great progress happening, and I think the community at large is very excited about this. And so it was fun to see that in action today. And I saw Jeff Davis and the Channel 3 team out there in their little reflective vests and their hard hats, and they were getting some great footage, so I'm excited to see that and just excited about the project all around.
I would like to say happy birthday to my friend John, and also would like to thank you, my colleague, for congratulating me, and especially thanks to residents of Garden Grove who turned out in numbers to vote these times. It's a midterm election, but yet we turn out in huge number to vote. In District 1 alone, there are more than 6,000 people to come to vote. And in my district, there are more than 5,000. I'm simply touched by all the voters who turn out to vote, whether you vote for me or for other candidate. We surely appreciate your interest and your involvement in this election. I pledge to continue to give all of my energy and times to serve the community. And I look forward to another 4 years working with my colleagues and make sure that our city will grow and that it will be a safe neighborhood for everyone.
I
Go for it.
apologize. One more thing.
No problem.
I want to congratulate George Brightingham for getting elected to the 1st District as well. Your new colleague to be.
Yep. Go ahead, Scott.
Mr. Mayor, just a couple things from my end. First of all, as somebody who doesn't have a lot of history with wildfires, hillside fires, all of that, it was a very helpless feeling over the weekend, watching all the destruction going on up north, and especially up by Malibu and all of that. And I took the time to, without knowing really what to do, I reached out to John Pidake, who's the city manager down in Laguna Beach, and he heads up the Orange County City Managers Association. And I said, I really feel helpless. If there's ever anything that we can do, I wanted to put myself in the shoes. I certainly don't understand firefighting or helping out, but I kind of can put myself in the shoes of a city manager in Agora Hills or Malibu or somewhere up there, and trying to figure out what would my role be, how difficult it must be for all of those folks trying to, work with their first responders and everything. And so, I put that out to him, and he said, well, what we can do is make sure that we give, our fire departments, when they're deploying up there, the support that they need to go up there and take care of business. And I think that's what a lot of cities are doing. And, I just said, if there's anything we can do, I'm all in. But for those of us that are civilians that aren't in the profession, it is a pretty helpless feeling, and you're trying to figure out what can we do, and it's not always easy to figure out. Anyway, wanted to get off that soapbox, but just a couple other quick things. I know, Councilman Beard, we only have one more council meeting with you, and I wanted to congratulate you on helping us get the Valley View Theater project kind of voted on. I'm glad you were able to vote on that today, because Lisa Kim and her team worked really hard on getting it to that point, getting it to the Planning Commission. It's really going to be, I think it could be the beginning of some transformational stuff out in the west side of town. So, we're excited about that, looking forward to that. And, despite all the text messages that you sent me telling me to get my butt in gear to get stuff going out there, I'm glad we were able to get that going.
I gotta use that. I didn't do that.
Councilmember Kloppenstein, Steelcraft, great. Yes, they are putting all the shipping containers together like little Legos there, and I think this spring, February, March, we're going to have a pretty cool place to go visit. It's going to be a great addition to our city. Very important on Measure O is our Community Oversight Committee. It's something that we made a big commitment to. You all included that in the ordinance and the resolution going forward. So I would anticipate that sometime shortly after the first of the year, I've been working with Maria Stipe, and some models for some things that we can give to you for you to think about what that looks like. It was important to me. I know it's important to the community, all the meetings we had, and I kind of want to say, that's going to be one of the very first things that we bring to you right after the first of the year for you to consider what the structure looks like and how it should be set up, all of that. So that'll be coming to you. And then the final thing I want to mention to you, congrats to John Montanchez and Lisa Kim. They have found a way, at least I've been bugging them about it since I got here, to figure out a way to put some holiday lights up on Main Street and some stuff, and that's going to continue on to the Gem Theater and maybe even some stuff in City Hall. I think it's all part of the Reimagined Garden Grove, and so I think they'll be starting to do some of that. Main Street is kind of the historic center of our city, and so I think you're going to see some good stuff with that over the holidays. So that's all I had.
I just would like to steal one more minute. Just like my friend Chris Beard, I would like to congratulations to my friends George Brettingham. We served together in Planning Commission for years, and now I will have an opportunity to serve with him as on this dais at the City Council. I also would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to our police as well as firefighters. In time of disaster such like this fire up north and both in Northern California and in LA, Ventura County, we reflect on that, and we really truly appreciate your dedication in making sure that we are safe. Over the last few days, I look at the news, and it's very horrifying to see people driving through the firestorms. And it's also touched my heart when I ran across a news report showing firefighters calling up on the resident and telling them that the house was miraculously safe. And it touched those residents. Your passion and your dedication mean a lot to us. We do not express our appreciation to you both our police officers and to the firefighters often enough. But, we have a very busy life, but we should have expressed our appreciation to you a lot more often. Thank you for your words.
And with that, the city attorney has informed me that we do have a closed session item, so we're going to adjourn for now to closed session, and we'll come back and report out as necessary after that. So, thank you.